The ancient Egyptians lived in one of the hottest and driest environments on Earth, the desert lands of the Nile. Yet somehow, they built great cities, thrived in agriculture, and endured the blistering sun. How did they accomplish this astonishing feat? Were their techniques simply practical, or was there a more ingenious system at play that allowed them to withstand the punishing climate? Could their survival have depended on knowledge now largely forgotten, methods hidden in plain sight, or even innovations so advanced that they border on the mysterious? The answers lie buried in the sands of time, but the clues remain. The story of how Egyptians endured the extreme desert heat begins with their environment. Ancient Egypt stretched along the Nile River, a ribbon of fertile land surrounded by vast deserts. Summers were long, shade was scarce, and daytime temperatures often soared well above 100 degrees Fahrenheit. For the people who lived there nearly 5,000 years ago, staying cool was not a matter of comfort, but of survival. The Nile provided more than water and food. It shaped architecture, customs, and the very strategies Egyptians developed to endure the heat. One of the most effective ways Egyptians managed the desert heat was through the design of their homes and buildings. Archaeologists have found evidence of thick mudbrick walls, which absorbed the sun's heat during the day and slowly released it at night when temperatures dropped. Many houses had small windows, or none at all on their sun-facing sides, reducing the amount of heat entering the interior. Roofs were often flat, allowing families to sleep outdoors under the night sky when the indoor air grew stifling. Evidence even shows that wealthier Egyptians built homes with multiple rooms arranged around central courtyards, where shaded areas encouraged airflow and cooler microclimates. The Egyptians also made ingenious use of natural ventilation. Some ancient homes contained openings high along the walls designed to capture breezes. The narrow passageways of cities squeezed the air between buildings, creating shaded channels where air could flow more easily. In wealthier estates, archaeologists believe clerestory windows, raised openings beneath the roof, were used to release hot air while drawing cooler air from below. These architectural techniques created a form of passive cooling that required no tools or external energy, only a deep understanding of environmental conditions. Clothing provided another crucial line of defense against the desert climate. Egyptians typically wore garments made from linen, a lightweight fabric woven from flax plants grown along the Nile. This material was breathable, allowing sweat to evaporate and helping regulate body temperature. Men often wore simple kilts, while women donned lightweight dresses that allowed air circulation. Children, wall paintings suggest, often wore little clothing at all during the hottest months. Even pharaohs and officials relied on linen robes rather than heavier textiles, demonstrating that social status did not override the practical need for cool attire. The sun was relentless, and shade was precious. Egyptians created shaded spaces with wooden frameworks draped in woven mats or fabric, providing portable relief from the sun. Palm trees and reed shelters added natural shade, and some workers are believed to have constructed temporary awnings when laboring in the fields. In official settings and during processions, servants carried fans and large parasols made of palm fiber to shield elite members of society. Many tomb paintings vividly depict these practices, giving us a clear sense of how critical shade was in public and private life alike. Water itself played a major role in cooling. Historians believe Egyptians often dampened mats or hung wet reeds in doorways to create an early form of evaporative cooling. As the water evaporated, it reduced the air temperature in the immediate area. Jars of water were placed on rooftops or in shaded courtyards, where breezes passed over them, cooling the surrounding air. Wealthier households sometimes maintained small pools or fountains, which offered not only aesthetic beauty, but also cooler microclimates in their homes. These principles of cooling through evaporation, still in use in certain desert communities today, provided remarkable relief in a time before modern technology. Diet also factored into surviving the heat. Egyptians drank large quantities of beer, which was lower in alcohol than modern forms and acted more as a staple beverage than an intoxicant. They consumed water drawn directly from the Nile, often stored in ceramic vessels designed to keep it cooler than the surrounding air. Foods like cucumbers, lettuce, and melons were abundant and refreshing. Archaeological evidence shows that the Egyptians even flavored water with herbs and fruits, helping to make hydration not only necessary, but enjoyable. This reliance on cooling foods and drinks gave their daily routines resilience against extreme conditions. Life was particularly grueling for workers and farmers, yet systems were in place to help them withstand the heat. Farmers often rose before dawn to maximize cooler hours of work. Field workers wore head coverings or wrapped cloth around their heads to shield themselves from the sun. When large construction projects were underway, such as temples or pyramids, workers had shaded resting areas and were provided with water rations. Evidence from worker villages suggests they consumed cooling foods during breaks, and some studies argue that scheduled rest periods were enforced during the hottest parts of the day. Cooling strategies in Egypt were not only practical, but also held symbolic and cultural meaning. Shade itself was associated with protection, often depicted in tomb art and religious imagery. Fans, for example, were wielded not only by servants, but by priests during rituals, signifying both relief from the heat and divine favor. Water, seen as life-giving, was infused into religious ceremonies, perhaps in part because of its dual role in sustaining both physical survival and spiritual purity. These connections reveal that methods of keeping cool were deeply integrated into both the physical and spiritual lives of the Egyptian people. When compared to other ancient civilizations, Egyptian methods of heat management were particularly advanced. While Mesopotamians also relied on thick walls and courtyards, evidence shows the Egyptians refined evaporative cooling and personal clothing to an exceptional degree. Even the Greeks and Romans, known for their baths and aqueducts, adopted water-centered practices that mirrored concepts first used in the Nile Valley. Today, many passive cooling techniques being revived for sustainable architecture bear striking similarities to the strategies Egyptians pioneered thousands of years ago. The ancient Egyptians did not possess electricity, mechanical fans, or refrigerated air. Yet through clever architecture, careful clothing design, strategic use of water, and cultural values surrounding shade and comfort, they managed to thrive in one of the hottest regions of the world. Historians believe that these methods were not minor conveniences, but critical foundations of Egyptian daily life. Their enduring practices remind us that survival often depends not on advanced machinery, but on deep knowledge of the environment. The deserts of the Nile presented extraordinary challenges, but the Egyptians met them with extraordinary wisdom, and in doing so, they left us with insights that continue to inspire even in the modern world.